BLADETONGUE, told of the Fourth Age. Of the Eldark world will you hear, of famous bronze and unearthly fire, how it was that a few companions went up against lawless breeds and creeping peril, delivering all the lands from desolation. They dared enter darkest caves, going into depths enchanted. At last they went up against the worst of foes, the horse-devouring, man-devouring, horned terror, firstborn of the ancient abyss. By the son of Jarlath, fiercest among them, was it accomplished. He pierced the artery of the beast with an ancestral blade, trusting that the prayer of his companions was heard. Prepared by the Almighty they were, some to heroic end, but others to return, and see their work harvested upon the plain of Gederon. That day the great armies stood opposed, so witnessed they the hour of the Bane Lord's doom. They were a remnant crew, 7 soldiers only, and a few faithful footmen besides, men who had survived the long and bitter wars. They were sons by adoption of Ulthor, the land of the White Shores, and had marched in the campaigns during the Wars of the Spear, through many weary years. In those days the king of Ulthor had led his hosts to victory, when the war omens proved true, and the skull standards of the enemy were cast down. Yet these companions were not there at the final hour. They had endured the marching, the hunger, and the peril, but not the glory. The great deed was done without them, and the praise of it passed to other men. So the wars came to their end, and with them the long labors of the soldier's life. Yet little reward was given, no great treasure, nor any share in honors or gleaming gold that ease a man's burdens, nor did any foreign lord seek out their service. And worse still, in the days of peace, there arose a quiet rivalry among the ranks, as men contended for remembrance. Rumor took wing, and came at last to the ears of the court, that this company had spoken boldly, whether in jest or under wine, claiming that greater honors were due them. The Grand Duchess of Irbath, hearing this, spoke from her high seat. "No more shall these men be welcome in my father's halls, to dine of his bounty and drink of his shining wine. Was it not enough that he redeemed them from chains, paying dear ransom to the dire, that infernal master? Where would they now be, had he not delivered them?" "Laboring in some mine, no doubt," said Rollo, her counselor, "beneath the grim towers of Zabul, that dreadful stronghold in the mountains. Why are they not content to serve as guards or yeomen? Instead, they vaunt themselves as heroical, and crave high honors, as though it were they who drove back the troll horde. And now comes word of them. They would bind themselves by oath, and claim release from the service owed. Yet are they not marked by custom for such labor? Let them no longer exalt themselves among us, my lady. They must taste some measure of correction. I pray you, let them know their trespass." She rose from her seat, her voice clear as a bell and unyielding. "If they find no honor in life here, then let them seek it upon the sea, chasing easy coin and the plunder of forgotten kings. From such ventures we shall not hinder them. Let them pass beyond our coasts into the unguarded outlands, and return not until they have increased the sway of righteousness in the realm. Soon enough they will regret their pride and beg forgiveness, but no word of welcome shall restore them, until they bring back some sign of their labor and repentance, the head of a dragon, or the crown of a wicked warlord. Then Rollo, fearing that her judgment might prove too severe, and that unrest might follow in the realm, spoke again. "It is true, my lady. They have earned correction. Yet we must take care. Dark powers may demand too great a price for such trophies, and it would ill become us if our soldiers were brought low in dishonor, or left idle through misfortune. Let not the rod fall too heavily upon them." "Then we shall grant them some aid," she said. "A learned physician shall be appointed to tend them when they return." "If they return, my lady, might not a field physician attend them on the journey? On so uncertain a venture, shall we risk such?" She looked upon her counselor, and made no further answer, yet neither did she wholly refuse his request. So she decreed, and her words went forth, and the servants of the court made known her will to all. Now would the remnant crew learn the cost of talk vaunted aloud so vainly. They knew well what weight her royal word had. Yet being deeply perplexed, they made no ready preparation to sail, but sat long in doubt and disputing. "Go where?" they would ask each other. "Impossible, Duchess. She commands we quest, win glory for the crown. But what glory win and where and how achieved? For we cannot get far without knowledge. She says only righteous deeds, not treasure, will restore us to favor. Aye, treasure were easier to find, and easier to take by far." There was then a young noble, Phaethar by name, the son of a gentleman, who heard of the plight of these veterans, and he was young, not yet with his first beard. And as young men be restless with tales of ancient treasure, and of grisly guardians ever stirring in their thought, so came he boldly unto the soldiers. Thus he approached them at the tavern, where they sat heavy and sunk in their cups, and he stood before the greatest of them, Soren of Niruz, called Kajet, a mighty man sinewed and large, with ale spilling down his yellow beard. And when he looked up and beheld the lad, he frowned upon him, saying, "Have you somewhat to speak, boy? Then begone. We have naught in common with you, nor with your sort. Our talk is too coarse for the delicate ears of a beardless lording." But Phaethar took not heed of such insult, nor of the scorn of the others, defying the dismissal. "Mind your manners, Soren," he says. "Hearken ye all. Ye lack battle work, and all say that idleness has foully undone you men. Reckon then your unhappy state. If you devise no plan, if you take no road quickly, ye shall be removed in disgrace. And shall you dishonor all your kin, so then some lord must step forth to fund an expedition." "Who then? You? We veterans, to work under you. Was that your father's idea? Phaethar, brazen. Away with you. This company will unravel its own knots in due time." "Knots, say ye? Already have you proved less wit in loosening them. You will need more than words to thrust me out. Unlike you, I never lost honor, because I never enjoyed it. That is truth. I have done nothing tall, nay, not yet in life. Yet in my own esteem I strive and dream against that repute. Shall I set myself against each of you and win honor? Then see, I may yet win some renown here, in this very town." "What? Who are you? A pampered sprout with lofty dreams. You will not win martial glory by us. Get back to your mother, boy." Aye, dreams I have turned into plans, many plans. No, I have not fought Horgoth, nor borne any knightly badge, but gold I do have, shiny pieces enough. Of mighty Ulthor custom has it that the young nobles should go abroad, gamble everything away on adventure, or misadventure, of course. 'Tis an excuse to take a foolish risk myself, or else, in a worthy way, to furnish some occasion for dying in battle. You know not dying nor battle, said Urius. Ever sighted the groaning field of the slain, or just with lovers lain? Yet though they laugh more, Phaethar laid down 2 golden crisettes on the board before them. There is more from where that came. I can meet any cost of travel. Then Urius, champion among them, put away the cat he had been stroking, and set down his tankard. Seeing the gold, his eyes open wide, his voice was rough, barbaric, of the eastern lands. What is thy will in this, Phaethar? Why should you join us in some perilous quest? She craveth a giant's head, or a beast of infamy, or some iron crown. What will you exchange for your dear life? Think you the hooded angel will prize these coins when deep hell is agape? We will stare upon bloody heaps, heaps of men torn and mangled, doubtless. It's not some heroic show, as in parades or sagas, and there's no second chance. Battle is a cold hazard, with death sudden and unawares. Let hazard come, said Phaethar. A right worthy venture must be had. I've my own reasons. The time has come. These coins can get us to wherever we must go. It be not with these crisettes that we have dispute, said Urius. But do tell us, how come you by them? Your house has not renown for such wealth. His own kin supplied them, I wager, remarked Cajet. They would be rid of him. 'Tis a bribe to make himself scarce. In some part you are not wrong, Cajet, said Phaethar. 3 moons agone, my father died, a soldier true and loyal. My brother took the lands. The law did grant it him. To me, father left only a cup, but full of gold crises, and so I will not trifle it away, but honor him, and now invest in a soldier's enterprise, for the kingdom's sake. Many thanks, said Urius. We should be able to put these to good use. Your saintly father will smile, and there's a return coming to you by next year, a share of the loot measured fair to your investment. But hear me, leave us now, and do forget it, else you will surely fall, I tell you. Too many lion cubs I have seen crumpled on the blood-stained soil. Nay, I shall not be turned, said Phaethar. Do you not comprehend me? The cup has been poured into my lap, and must remain with me. My father rated honor more highly than wealth. He used to speak of you, all of you, with great esteem. But now he is gone. The wars are forgotten. And today who respects you? They will have a parade, not for your honor, but in gratitude for your departure. So you must bring me along. No, 'tis not about loot, rather the time for deeds of honor, worthy of the bardic song. So I insist on coming, and to be taught soldiering. It is my sole condition. There be not much honor in a muddy grave, lad, said Urius. Men don't do this work because they want to. No, you just provide us the funding. You shall win honor enough thereby. All the town will be chattering over it, your trust in us. And then, indeed, you will have not only life and honor, but wealth, 12% in the hall, by law. Come, be reasonable. Life is good here in Ulthor. No one would leave it willingly. Would they, Cajet? Cajet did not answer. He was thoughtful, studying Phaethar. "I perceive this one's hidden game," he said, smirking, lifting his tankard for another swallow. "The whole town knows about you, Phaethar, still being wounded over that lovely lady you courted and fumbled. Forget her, lover boy. There are many others. Have you a crush now on the Duchess?" At this there was hearty laughter. Phaethar did not laugh. Aureus gazed upon him, measuring the noble. He turned to Kadjet. "Nar, we cannot take him anyway. He is a noble. By the code of this land, we must make obeisance, work under him, and he hath not yet whetted his sword in blood." "Rightly argued, I have not," Phaethar said. "But remember my father's work. He taught me some deadly weapon handling already. My offer stands. If ye refuse, ye shall be cast out ere long, and when you beg your bread, you shall regret it. Then you will return with your tails between your legs. But me you will not find, even if they mind you back in town, without honor. Therefore advance me now, or forever rue it." Then Aureus reached forth and took the coins. "All right, lad, but I do not suppose you will long last. So be. Let these 2 krisettes meet tuition for our teach on soldiering. Now call thou for more ale." "Hold, you must first hear what is our condition, brazen one," Kadjet added. Aureus looked him and whispered, "Kadjet, have you a word, what be our condition?" Kadjet looked away. He squinted. "You know, we do also have a condition. A certain condition. Tell it to him, Aureus." "Ah, yes, our condition," said Aureus. "Well, since you are a noble, we expect you to look after rightly what nobles are wont to look after while on expedition." "What?" said Phaethar. "I recall, they handle maps and the like, and wield fancy words against cunning factions. Especially do they make use of their monies for the company, and they keep our disputes in order. But do not hope that your load will be light. Expect no special treatment. Aye, and there be some other things of some sort," later said. So, at last, they accepted him, for some destiny lay upon it. The company inquired about, asking many shiplords and sailors of news from strange coasts, if bards in foreign ports had sung treasure, or if aught be heard of a realm needing hunters of great beasts that yet haunted the wide world. But none told of any menace to be tracked down, nor of any legendary trove to be took. 2 days passed, and no comfort came. That evening, Aureus and Kadjet paced about the empty tables like lions in a cage, and they clasped their chins and fretted. Old Gulathar, called Wrinkly Face, the eldest of their company, and long of ear as elf, looked upon them and said, "Ye seem as hounds kept from their master's hearth, and right so, for shame will be greater if the Duchess drive you forth. Hath Phaethar no devising?" Aureus answered, "That lion cub knows not enough of the wide world to work up some winning plan." He reached for his tankard. "Nay, Aureus," said the old elf blood, staying his arm. "Many draughts of ale shall not set this straight. Be not downcast. I am your friend, and I have seen the world full oft. Tomorrow we shall agree on a course." And so he rose early on the morrow, and fetched each veteran from his house, and brought them all to the back hall of the tavern. There, standing before them, he spoke. "Make no mistake, and hear me. I am a Valraff. The blood of ancient elves flows in my veins. Of the antique realms I have knowledge, and read their tongues long lost. So hear this. To locate worthy lore, I've been searching the books and memories of things written for any reliable rumor, or any record of relics or treasure buried. Not much worth anything did I find, ye men. So unto prayer I retreated. Amongst the stars a thought arose. Recall ye this, how, when children, you all were entertained by fanciful tales. One told of a wizard who built a spiraling tower, mysterious and grand. When the tower was finished, the lords discovered treachery in his design and foul embezzling. They roused the folk to march with fork and flail, rid the land of him, lest divine wrath be met for tolerating such evil. But the wizard was spry. He locked himself away in his terrible tower, vanishing with unimaginable loot into its deep-rooted lairs, setting his minions to watch. Nor have any adventurers dared the place since. I remembered hearing the story years ago. I delved into the annals and many works of the king's library in hopes to find an official version of the legend, or else an actual record of events. Many hours by candle I sat in those vaults, looking over titles and pages. In the log of a certain trading cog, I noted mention of a certain far-flung town, Ironport by name. Much complaint was lodged by the crew of that ship, namely that great dread suddenly seized the men when gliding into the harbor and sighting a most unusual tower looming just beyond the walls. Upon disembarking and inquiring on't, they heard of powerful lord of unnatural lifespan who dwelt therein, and this talk so spooked the crew that they petitioned the captain at once to depart from that town before another's hour pass. For it seemed to them that the townsfolk especially lacked mirth, and gave stern looks, as if the mind of evil held sway over them. And when questioned about the tower, they would say that many had perished for the accursed gold within. Having the name of the town, I located within a certain tome an entry pointing to the story's origin. It was listed for the 4th year of Perihelion in the Chronicles of Cargival. There was writ in full all the known history, no child's fable, but a true report, and showing to having transpired in the seaside town Ironport. Their hearts needed no more encouraging. In the year 1404 they met, the 4th age of the world. There in the homeland they knew, Ulthor rich in sea hall, foremost kingdom of Whitehawk. So let the tale begin there, at the tavern that evening, bright with the glow of many candles, being the day before they expected to sail. In a large room apart they stood, and there they were gathered. The thick oaken doors they closed and locked. At the famous table of whitewood, the oath room, under the sign of the Golden Mermaid, they assembled. It was the soldiers' mead hall of Yerbath, city upon the splashing sea. Dedicated brethren and no strangers to deadly risk, they roused themselves with spoken oaths to go campaigning and thereby win heaping treasure. Nor did they fail to persuade skillful hands to the venture, individuals no adventurer should ever neglect to bring along, for strange and unknown are the foreign lands that the seas divide. Who were they that pledged these bloody oaths? Count first the young noble, and 3 reckless fighters, a chivalric lord of the church, and the troll-wise Valraff, elf-kin, deep-born folk, famed in tracking. Add thereto a mage of Nistol, a refugee of the raised towers, steeped in strange verse was he, the one who first gave his word, and bound upon his head the silver whale diadem of arcanes, embroidered with rune work of Nistol. Never would he give solemn word without it. Hear ye this, good soldiers. You know me as Thalfin the Star-Robe, but let me be called Avenging Onslaught instead, if ever I see my brothers in deadly straits. For by these bones and blood, I vow all fury and death-dealing magic in defense of the man in peril, whosoever he be, and whatsoever the chance, be it against beast or nightmare, giant or highest sorcery, risking life and limb, all for the man beset, glory and loot come what may. So made he grave utterance, and thereafter stood forth one of barbarian stock, Urius crawled, of the shorn locks, whose hair was shaved on the sides, leaving a crest like a boar's mane. A savage look born of heathen hills, with mazy lines painted on his arms, his mind unsullied by civilization's guile. He was a sure throw with the axe, and one who could best unleash the deliberate sword stroke. He placed upon the table his heirloom sword, an orichalcum brand, brazen metal of amazing temper. Urius, so do men of the cities now call me, now that I am cleansed. But know that my name was before heathen style, Uriosh of Varth, the name given from my Hyksoth ancestors. Life is brief and troubled for us barbarians, but there is much delight for the bold. So I now pledge and hold myself to the same. No well-woven magic to offer, nor high birth to claim, but rather the hazardous edge of my dooming bronze to vouchsafe bloody victory. So vowed he. Then Rohorst, the skilled lanceman. Bald was the man, having the deep-hued skin of the Mahanaksaran tribes, a short black beard, and being clad in a leopard skin tunic, its tail and limbs dangling at his side. He was a sure tracker in the wilds, and a master of game, and of finding faint vestiges. I also gravely vow, and let my share of the booty go to the man who sees me delay my spear or many-knotted club, unsure of strength from above, if ever a mass of enemies overwhelms us, for first shall I go down in heaps of the slain. So the lithe-limbed Rohorst gave his word. Next Gulathar the Valraf made vow. A troll-wise spelunker was he, himself bred of an enchanted realm. Kin of deep earth, his ears were pointed like a fox, and he had a hooked nose like a sesquin bird, with worried eyes, and being hunched by countless years. He it was who knew many things needed for rough adventure in brooding caverns or mazing tombs of pagan kings. My oath does not shy from like boldness of tongue, for I never leave a soul trapped in the depth of some echoing cave, broken in the dark, abandoned in a sightless pit, groaning under inaccessible gloom. I will abide by him until his last breath. Then was oath saying come round to Soren, Kajet, Rolkson of Nirus, the hulk standing a full head higher than other lords, and so unnatural was the threat of his sinews and muscle, that his very presence caused concern. Handy with the battle axe, and war mallet was this fighter. Swore he his simple oath, his voice churning deeply. By my grandsire's honor, put to proof my word. From this hammer, let only dreadful deeds spring. It shall smash beasts, confound enemies, and put to flight ghouls and trolls until they slump into the very shadows they cast. So he vowed with a frown. The man was a mass of devastation. Then Norgonce, Marshal of the Order of Amuri, a lord mindful of heaven's law, took up the famous blunt basher, Mithrohan, and spoke the sworn utterance. He brandished the steel mace, the shining holy battle relic, so that not any soul weariness come. For my companions I shall pray when the sun rises and when it sets, and may the power of the Almighty work through this sacred basher, a weapon to pulverize the skulls of the wicked. And if the fiends know not enough to stay put in the dust, you shall hear me pronounce a holy word that will banish their foul spirits back to bottomless hell." So were the words the thick-bearded priest spoke, echoing power on high. Next stepped forth Perithio Lothran of Childishire, the halfling, being a nimble scout and bold. He was one recently having ceased to mourn his wife, for she had passed into the life to come. Even now I stand on a chair to make my point. Yet although my stature may seem no great advantage, do not doubt my training. The havoc of war holds many a surprise. You will never see me withdraw from death-dealing, no matter how dire an enemy. Down into the deep tracts of hell I will crawl, into any hole or crevice, treading on sleeping behemoths, my fingers quick to dissemble any lock. Young Phaethar took the oath as well. He was, after all, the bright-eyed son of a Rumilian noble, although he had not yet wet his sword with war blood. These recent years have never afforded me a chance for glory, let alone fame, but neither have any here been sung by a minstrel. This gilded plate armor shall come back dented and burned, or not at all. You will see me fight alongside you and answer any attack. There is talk that I loved the fair lady of Henway, and I wooed her. 'Tis all true. Now the day has corrected me. My thoughts cannot quite recall her face anymore. Instead, thought of onslaught never ceases. When the evil seed attacks, put me up front. Lastly, the oath-saying came round to Harpio Leafhad of Chermund, the other halfling, war companion of Perry Lothran. Harpio stood, but did not step forth. He did not approach and vow at the table of Whitewood, but stood still with his thoughts. Thalfin of the Star Robe looked at him. "Speak, friend. Tell us what troubles you, and know that there is no shame in retreating from the oath-taking." Harpio Leafhad looked up, and with sincere words confessed his mind directly. "In truth, at first talk of glory and glittering spoils lured me to this chamber, and I was moved by thought of fighting beside my friend. Yet I am older now, and my spirit wearies of battles. My limbs cannot bear more deadly adventure, good fellows. Years of drudgery we spent in the wars of the spear. Further trouble I cannot shoulder, for you speak of things dreadful, terrible, of places where men should not go. Yet already has warfare sore vexed my peace of mind. You, my friends, go find your glory. Our Duchess has given me leave to retire to the farm, and spend my waning days tending my kin. Let me breathe in the open air as long as it is given me, offering my tithes at church, without wealth or fame. My prayers and blessing shall be with you." So speaking, he bowed and began to leave the room. The others spoke assuring words, and made his purpose seem the better, that he stay behind, and live long, retiring from world-seeking, for the life of the adventurer who would sack the nether realms is short indeed. They named themselves Bladetongue, for that the oath of their tongues was as the blades they bear. Not all who will be told of were their pledging oath. Damis and Odohir, archers of Isle Lot, took pay, and a share of the haul when they returned. Freedom from the death risk was theirs, no need to die in some wizard tower, nor a hero's work. But later did Damis become Bladetongue. And when the oaths were spoken, the company made to leave the oak room. But as they went to seek merriment in the smoky tavern, Norgonce, the grey hair, stayed them, and lifting up his voice above, all said, "Abide ye a while, and keep shut the door, good sirs, and hearken. For I must declare to you certain high matters of state, learned from nobles and from knights, men in authority, yea, and from the Duchess herself, royal daughter to the good king, lord of the Ultherings, who is now full advised of these your plans. Earlier this day was held another great council, and I was there in the fastness of the Grand Duchess of Yerbath. Know ye well, it is no wholesome thing that some soldiers hear of their fellows freely falling to the seas to quest for gold, while they themselves must keep watch from the castle walls and patrol. Dull work indeed. Ye all remember what words the Duchess spoke when she heard of your intent. As for me, ye know me for no common soldier, as I am Grand Knight of Amuri at Yerbath, though during the years of the Ataluran bloodletting I ate my rations beside you. Doubtless ye marvel why I have joined you, unforeseen. Hear then why, yesterday, as the sun went down in the west, I rose in council and addressed the virtuous lady. Royal lady, I said, ever have we held thy command in utmost trust, but division sore and irreconcilable does trouble all the realm. Even some of my own knights are tempted to break discipline. Many false tales have been sown to dislodge them that hold rank. These rowdy men-at-arms you speak of are defenders of mine own kin. Therefore, I pray thee, forbid them to follow their own designs, their ill-starred and thoughtless quest, for if they sail far to Cargiwal or some other bitter land, there they will surely die. I urge you consider not their words, but rather their deeds loyal of past service, which may redeem them a mere slap of your disciplinary glaive. Pray, let a joust atone their folly in the sight of all the town. Remember how they gave thanks when the king freed them from the mines of Zabol. Thereafter came forth from a shadowed corner a knight of high stature, a battle-lord. He came limping in gait. At the very end of the table he presented himself to speak. One never much seen in the castle. Indeed, his ornate cuirass, darkly shining raiment, and stern presenting, marked him a formidable knight. Nor could I easily discern his features, for the evening lit him but dimly, and about his face a black scarf was wrapped, which I deemed a cover for some war wound. Forward he came and spoke. Norgonce, men have held thee for wise, and so did I. But this suit of thine puts me in doubt. You say these unruly soldiers gave thanks for their deliverance from chains. Was there ever a man that would not thank his king for release from that hellish fortress Zabol? You would yourself, no doubt, and recompense hard chains for humble acts of gratitude. So they did nothing worthy of remark, and I am one who would know, being myself no stranger to such debts. And the unknown knight ceased not there, but made further discourse. Recall how I rendered grateful service when I was released from shackles, a confinement you yourself did once oversee. From that dungeon below us, where now we stand, the king one day released me at the recommends of his daughter. For I had skill to read the meaning of dreams, and the king was sore troubled. For this gift they set me at liberty, with but exile as penance for my revolt of the previous year. Now, for wisdom I have relinquished the obscurity of exile, to take my place again at the table of knights, a thing which by the law remains my right whenever a fourth harvest moon rises. But why look you so perplexed? Do you recognize me not? You did recognize me once before. No friend. Not to know me would mean yourself also unknown, or if you do know, why stare with such amazed eyes? So he spoke words puzzling to all save myself, words summoning past events long away. But then I, surprised yet not mistaken, quickly rose from my chair and addressed him in turn. Do not suppose, revolting knight, your look is the same as it was, or having that of undiminished nobility, as when of old you stood with the Amoric fold, upright and pure. That glory departed from you, and you resemble now your offence and paltry fiefdom obscure and savage. Why is it that not all your rebel crew came hither with you? Is their own shame of utter defeat less awful, less to be fled from? Is their new thraldom less difficult to endure? Courageous knight, first of rebels to flee. But come, for you must surely give account to the Grand Duchess who favours none, since you have not appeared for many a tide in this assembly after your untimely release from that dark durance. To whom that knight, concealing his face under the dark scarf, made audacious reply. Insulting cleric, know that it is not because I less endure, or shrink from pain, since well you know how I stood as your fiercest opposer, when, in battle, the crown of the Ultherings himself seconded your otherwise not dreaded lance. Your own military inadequacy is now shown to all, for how is it that a loyal war chief like myself would risk his whole army to move inside gates where ambushers like you thrive? I alone first undertook to ride across the desolate waste and spy this great castle, whereof, in my domain, its fame is not unheard. So do I hope to find better abode, and settle my afflicted peer knights not far away, but still loyal like a true knight, so remaining in the Ulthuring possession, even if it means making contest anew against you and your men. And smirking, he added, whose easier task would rather be to serve a woman by flatteries and cowardly deference. At this the eyes of the Duchess flashed with fierce indignation, yet as royal she made no defence of herself. So to him I, with nearly boiling blood, replied, You pretend first that wisdom taught you to flee from shameful exile, but next profess your intention was to spy. This argues no true leader, but a liar traced. And would you even add the word to your rebellious crew? An army of languishing robber knights? So was this your version of martial obedience and loyalty, to dissolve allegiance to rightful authority? And you are indeed a sly hypocrite, one who would now style himself patron of knighthood, who once fawned and cringed and knelt in service to our awe-inspiring monarch, only in hope to unseat him and yourself to reign. But mark what I advise you now. Say your request, and be gone. Ride back quickly to that thorny land from which you came. For if from this hour you appear again in these castle halls, back through that wasteland, I myself will ride, like before, dragging you on foot behind, fastened in chains. So I let him learn my intention. Next he retorts with contemptuous brow. The day on which I do become thy captive, then talk of chains, proud, exalted page-boy. Until then, far heavier load expect to feel from my prevailing iron, though the king of the Ultherings himself guard you with his adamant shield, and you and your underlings, accustomed to the servile pampering of noble privilege, try with huge loss to assail my domain. Thus did he offer further boast and insulting challenge. But before that repellent knight could renew his lowly words, the Duchess, seated, resplendent in her heavy brocade, stockings, tight-fitting doublets, long billowing dress embellished with pearls and jewels, like a Juno, with echoing voice addressed him. "O loss of one so resplendent in glory and nobility, ill-starred Parrhasius of former name, now titled only baneful lord, Sinistox, thou art one whom none have matched in excellence ever since you turned, the royal-born knight whom folly overthrew. Why do you now come to us again from your perimeter allotment and Thane fort? Seeking what advantage have you come from your place of merciful banishment? With presumption, do you still suppose that my female clemency might gain you some leave? But before you answer, know that although my brother, you always remain. The law is greater than any power, no more than the narrow passage and fruitless borderlands you already possess can be granted. But tell why you approach again this assembly, preferring an exchange of hard words to the undisturbed resignation of remote lordship." So did the Grand Duchess command answer, and the melancholy knight therefore replied, "New knowledge found of events past has driven me here, sister, to risk life and limb, so that undeniable facts may be published to all. Did not Her Highness hold it a mystery that a prince so trusted as I should so lightly be painted disloyal, judged as one who nourished ambition and conspiracy, where aforetime was found only simple obedience and faithful service? Nor could the judges convict me with surety, and no true punishment could be exacted, but only a dishonorable dismissal, which they named mercy. No, well, bold conspiracy there was, but not in my heart. It took root in the breast of one I trusted. He it was that first accused, and he it was that gave swift judgment. Cunning was his plot, and so ordered that I, unthinking, bear the very signs that seemed to prove his lie. In my youthful temper, I did not look to the law, but to the field. In wrath I mustered my knights against your false vassals, for my desire was great to defend you and the king, my lady and Grand Duchess, against this one false cleric, master of dissemblance. Yet they scattered my men across the bloody plain, and I was taken and cast below. Adulong in the depths I sat in chains, till your clemency wrought my deliverance from that deep imprisonment, and won me free exile, away from such intriguing courts. Now I am come again, daring to supply you sure counsel against that serpent who lay in your bosom, abiding his time to strike soon in secret and seize power." Then the Duchess demanded with high voice, "Who is this among us that you accuse, rogue knight?" And Sinistox answered, "Norgonce, Grand Master of the Amuric Knights, who doubtless abides his hour, watching for the best moment to strike." So made he awful insinuation, pointing. My frame convulsed, myself half amazed, half mad, ready to make a quick end of the villain. My hand went to the pommel of my sword, and the red-caped phalanx of Ultherings, the guard of the great hall, stepped forth in unison, and closed round us with spears poised, as thick and impassable as a thicket of thorn pines, to safeguard the Duchess. "Of fables false that is the furthest wandering, your highness," I cried, unable to offer quick rebuttal. But then, what ignited even greater dismay was that the Duchess gave no signal for her guards to forthwith oust the liar, but instead made reply. "This is a grave accusation indeed, Sinistox Banelord. High treason you lay against a clergyman highly placed. thou must now show some proof of this so great a plot, or if you cannot do so with satisfaction, know that the mistake will be costly. For if thou failest therein, the penalty that should fall upon the accused shall light upon thine own head, my brother." So warned the Grand Duchess, and that Thane of the Nameless Wastes, unmoved, replied with this embellishment: "Proof sure and without error I have, but first let Norgonce, traitor of utmost design, have his chance to consider, something not afforded me when I stood accused, whether he will kneel and crave mercy, or shamelessly make contest against the remarkable proof I possess." So did he presume. The Duchess straightway admonished him. "That chance is not thine to grant. My knight shall stand fast, and neither seek mercy, nor yield judgment to one that is not his lord. Nor may knowledge of such high crime lie hid. Show now what evidence thou hast, whilst thou art yet permitted." Then Sinistox said, "My sister, I bring today only my own witness. I would have withheld it, lacking a second, but the time of his dark plot drew nigh unto fruition, and I was constrained to come and warn you, albeit unprepared. Yet I shall not fail to present the proof in due season. Grant thou me some time to recover it." The Duchess replied, "You, my brother, have the repute of many dark deeds, but to me you have never lied, as far as I know. Yet if you cannot show some present proof, know well that neither may I condemn a knight so accused without evidence. Moreover, Norgonce has privilege of clergy." She paused a moment in thought. "And neither may such accusation be passed over, for thou also art a knight, and princely born, though fallen from favour. Therefore I judge thus: Norgonce shall remain apart from these halls until such time as he be proved guilty or no, within the lawful space of 3 moons, when you shall bring forth your proof, or fail. Proof irrefutable I will show. I brought it not with, fearing that before I got to you, Norgonce would confiscate it, arrest me, and cast me again into the deep, destroying me. Such is his devilish watch." So speaking, he ended with offensive tone. Norgonce was silent after his telling, and deep in thought. Proof irrefutable, my friends, so he claimed to possess, and indeed he must have something powerful contrived, for never would he dare accusal without it, as his legal counsellors are clever. And how shall a man refute proof that is called irrefutable? There is perhaps only one way, that of an irresistible counter-disputation. This I do not have, and this is why I am come to you. Sinistox is known to communicate with Xenops's men. Knowing the tower's fame, Sinistox must have gone to Xenops seeking a new patron, and in turn, Xenops found him a valuable political ally. And in exchange for power, he required of Sinistox certain books of lore which once belonged to Ulthor. Therefore, commending ourselves to the good Lord, we shall enter the old tower and retrieve what belongs to the crown. Heaven will show us the way. And that is how Norgonce laid forth his report, and the companions wondered on it, but soon ceased to wonder, and made merry. And Harpio and Pari sang the odes of Sod Bloodman, the famous warrior poet of old, and with the others they spent the evening over thick draughts of ale. And the stars of Orion rose, and night called the feasters to rest. Harpio lifted his voice in song for his dear fellows, and wept, for he remembered the many eventful evenings they had passed together, and the days, wandering the trackless hills about Yerbath, hunting the elk in the dales. Then he sang also of the festive procession which Yerbath had made for their departing upon that bright day of blue sky. For the people had heard that these men would go questing. The drums and horns resounded, the banners and carved saints were borne aloft with blazing candles, and many townsfolk thronged there to see them off, tying bright ribbons to their horses. And Harpio-Leafhad sang of each maiden fair, who bound a scarf, even one to the lance of Urius, savage though he was. There also stood the mayor, a well-fed noble with a yellow beard, well pleased to behold them ride away, and to hope for their glory. He bestowed on them many gifts of cutlass and buckler, boots, and fine capes. These things Harpio-Leafhad recalled, giving glory to the day and to the hoped-for honor of would-be heroes. Then Caiet, passing a tankard unto Urius, spoke his thought. Wisdom, unsung by the race of men, hath forewarned Harpio to avoid such perils, life hazarded for fickle honor that forsakes men in the grave. For no man nor power has travelled beyond the garrisoned walls of the misty frontier and returned, not in 100 turning years. Then Norgonce, servant of Holy Church, announced their overbold purpose. This very night, he declared, ply we unto Cargiwal's coast by Ardaheim, under light of star, for already half the cost is met by the guild of the western sea. At dawn you shall awaken upon the high waters in the belly of the timber-hewn ship, and some of you, having drunk over deeply, shall find little joy when you wake in misery upon the tossing waves. So spake the cleric who could banish spirits. His words were not popular, yet were they wise, and him they chose for leader. And when men asked why him, they replied, For we suppose he is mild in temper, and requireth less meed. Then swore they all oaths upon the banner of the Lamb, to obey Norgonce for heaven's sake, and Phaethar for glory's sake. 3 vows each man uttered. The first, to divide treasure in equal portions, a fair part to each that shared the peril. The second, to gladly die in bloody defence one of another. And the third, that upon the selfsame night 2 years hence, they should all meet again at the Golden Mermaid, the very oath-room wherein they stood, whether as conquerors of vast worlds, or as shades come up from the underworld. Many a gladsome tankard of ale they drank that night, till the barrels were emptied, and sleep summoned them away. Then Norgonce, who was never found drunk, rose and called the blade-tongue together, and with a last song and farewell, they set out for the docks. Harpio, weeping, went along to see them off. What power moved these men to depart their beloved homes and friends, and embrace near certain death? Was it rumors of wondrous treasure stored beneath an ancient tower? Or was it some other power dwelling beyond the known lands? Surely thoughtless frenzy had seized them, for they were no litter of puppies wandering idly into the wilderness, easy prey for far-seeing hawks and devouring serpents. Yet the glory that ever taunts men informed them little of how to fit out a campaign or search for a lost hoard. In the Ardaheim wastelands, perilous foes lay waiting, readying death, and little they suspected how swiftly their plans should unravel and go awry. A good weight of the money was spent on food and provisions, and bearing the packs they made for the merchant's wharf. With the waning of the wolf moon, the creaking bellies of some ships still rested there. They came that starry night unto the shore, the water black and shining like steel, all still save the lapping of the lesser waves. Many ship frames they passed, propped on shoring like the skeletons of leviathans, and about them lay hammers, saws, and many craftsmen's tools. There also stood a huge bronze kettle filled with black pitch, melted for the sealing of the leaky hulls of guild ships. And one wharf master worked early, whose task was to stir the pitch and tend the flame. When he espied the adventurers, he came straight to them and gave greeting, saying, "Good yeomen of Ulthor, angels protect you on your sea-treading. Sizable are your packs and war gear, so I guess rightly you hope for one of the better ships. By the look of you, you hazard some distant shore. No doubt ye be fools for glory, judging by the dreadful choice of your weapons. But see, many are the tall-masted ships here. What say ye now?" Then Norgonce, whose eyes flashed like lightning, replied, "The clover ship Alambrest. She is the ship which the guild has commissioned. For Ironport she sails this very hour, ferrying these reckless fools to their glory. Say, is she no longer here?" The master shipwright answered, "Ah, I am curious what ye covers are after. Much of you was spoken bright this day, and in the square when the sun was high. Milk righteousness, like unto the kings of Ulthor. So all men say of you. Yet have I seen many set their faces toward that grey town Ironport, seeking the broken tower, wherein lies, as men tell, the hoarded treasures of elder time. But oft have I seen them return with empty bags and withered hearts, for when they came near the place, their courage failed them. One there was, I mind me well, who dared to enter, but ever after was he a lone man, poor soul, who returned tongueless and handless, unable to tell of his mishap. But come, I will show the way, for most ships suffer not the Alambrest to moor beside them, and she is set down at the far end, for no man will berth beside a vessel cursed for accursed shores. Yet fret not, that grim and demonic Neptune of heathen superstition holdeth nothing against her." So they followed him past many a tall ship resting upon the dark sea, till at last they came to the Alambrest, a fair sloop whose prow was carved a mermaid's bust. They thanked the shipwright and offered him a coin, but he, returning it, gave them a stern look, saying, "Go with all speed, and do not linger long in that wretched port town. Fare ye well." They struggled with the sizable packs hefting all the gear aboard over the dark waves lapping restlessly against the docks. The ship was one of the famous clover ships of Ulthor, merchant crafts of large belly, with cabins well made of sturdy oak. No creature took note of their embarkation, save for the atrocious dock spiders, thickly haired and many-eyed, which hung about the timbers quietly watching the unwelcome guests. Not even a slight breeze was up when the crew cast the yarns off. Harpio Leafhad alone stood upon the dock and waved, watching the ship, and strange night birds flew in double rank under the red moon, calling harshly as they passed seaward. Part 2. Before dawn broke over the rim of the world, the sails were unfurled, and the vessel struck out upon the salt sea, cruising the high main ere the companions awoke. One Rhaeteon was ship's owner and captain, a sun-wrinkled man seasoned in many voyages. The dawn breeze tossed his hoary locks. The oarsmen, their labor done, gave thanks for their weary bones, while the prow smote the bright foam and scattered the rolling waves. Norgonce, ever first to rise with the sun, came to the captain and spoke his mind. "Captain, you are one that knows the ways of the sea. and this vessel and her crew seem worthy of a great cause. But tell me, why rode we so far out upon the dark, glistening waters when blind night was passing, a time when men should rest from their labors? The old seaman drew his gaze from the churning waters and answered, "It ever goeth thus, my lord. When the merchant lords bid us trade iron, tin, and hides of miserable Ardaheim, we have caution, for no well-hewn bark may outrun the privateers of Othgog. So to make good northing along the coast, we must catch the Ardaheim breeze at first light, and glide swiftly through the straits. Those sea-wolves, being men of wicked life, rise not with the steeds of the sun. Once they caught us when the morning turned. First year we ventured thither, and robbed us of 40,000, and no power recovered it. But trust our sea clover now. She is a fine caravel, swift and stout, newly refitted by my lads. Her rigging is new, her ribs barred to the frames, her sides planked with oak, and sealed with pitch and horsehair. The merchants have stowed 2 tons of biscuits in her hold, a bushel of beans, 50 strings of garlic, 200 pounds of honey, 500 of salt pork, and 200 butts of wine. The crew are 23 souls. A new rudder we hoisted, and new sails rigged. She is sound and ready." Norgonce nodded gravely, and prayed to heaven. "An honest captain is not common. I should inform him of our purpose. Lord, thank you for supplying such a man, and may our passage be well." Then he drew the captain aside, and entrusted to him their secret purpose, saying, "Abide a few days in Ironport, ill-famed grey town though it be. But if 3 days pass, and you shall not have heard from us, then depart, sailing on to Aravan to make your trade. Know that we shall enter the great tower of Xenops to seek the rumored trove, a place where evil broods and ghastly breeds patrol. Your risk is none, save if your crew choose to linger beyond the merchant's allotment. Yet if more days pass, and we return not, your homeward voyage may win you reward, for ransom shall be paid. And if treasure be found, something we may not return without, a fair share shall be yours. But if weeks go by while you load your iron, and still no word is heard, take this crisette, and have masses said for our souls." So said Norgonce, but the captain made no reply. For many men have great fear in their hearts of that infamous tower. He had seen with his own sea-haggard eyes the parties headed for that dark place, never to return, and oft captains suspect their merchant lords of trafficking in secrets too grave for mortal ears. After some hours the ship entered the straits where the pirates were known to lurk. Norgonce raised his battle horn, anxious to muster the blade tongue, but a crewman stayed his hand, saying softly, "Surely you will not jeopardize the entire boat. The pirates of Othgog have watchers along these shores. The least sound unfamiliar may rouse them from their tents, nor is it our task to teach them justice. Awaken your party instead under silence, and bid them arm themselves for the ship." Embarrassed, Norgonce withdrew aft, murmuring to himself, "How shall I be chaplain to this company if I act so witlessly? Lord, why choose such a man as myself for a task so great?" He went below and roused the companions without noise. Up rose Perilothran from coarse blankets in the musty fore of the ship, and the strong savour of tar and rope smote his nostrils, and the sudden light did sting his waking eyes. First he clad him in tunic and close-woven hose, and thereafter he took up his short sword in its leather scabbard, brass-bossed, the fittings thereon glistering as stars in the firmament. This he slung across his back, and over all he cast his woolen mantle, whereon were cunningly wrought the griffins of his father's house. Then he drew on his black boots and rose to fasten his broad girdle about his middle, and as he buckled it, he swayed to and fro, for the night's ale sat ill within his belly, and did churn in most sour wise. Now was poor Lothran a landsman and no sailor, and all these things together brought sudden convulsions upon his body. Straightway he unlatched the forward hatch and stumbled out upon the deck, striving manfully to keep all down. But his striving availed him naught, for that which was within him he rendered to the sea. The crew laughed at his plight, saying, "Fear not, lad, waters so smooth are rare indeed." Then came Rohorst and Urias crawled, and others, armed and ready to defend the ship. The fair wind bore them all through the narrow straits, every eye peering at the shores on either side, eyes searching the dark shores. But no pirates stirred that morn. Surely the sea-wolves would have their prey, had they risen early like most other beasts. So the clover ship sailed into the glorious morning. Over echoing breaks she flew, and the various winds did not deny the vessel the whole day, but were kindly, and humoured her well. Many hours passed, and at noon the men had their fixings of biscuits and fish, as each day. The sun began her descent, rolling beneath a western gloom. Ever on their right hand they kept the shores of eastern forests in sight. And sailing further north, the sea soon took on a rough temper, and from the north sky a murky pall descended over the deep. Night closed over the encompassing sky, and the waters took on a deep darkness, like the dreamless sleep of a man drunken with wine. Often under the starry veil, a west wind smote the mainsail, and would have thrown her into irons. Yet the pale light of dawn outran the sky, and at last, toward late morning, they made Ironport upon the 8th day before the Calends of Imbres. There stood upon shorings an incredibly massive ship, a mountain of timber, new raised by many craftsmen in the bay, strange in her shaping, with up-to-date curving hull, yet remembering the arc of the elder flood. Then Pere, noting town and ship, said, "Ironport, where men build strange ships and stranger towers. It be a curious place indeed." Now they drifted to the dock, secured the lines, and disembarked. Young Phaethar watched the folk moving on the wharf, strange and sombre of cheer, and Peri Lothran, noting his stare, described the place. Frowning folk be they, of Ironport, not hearty as once they were. So also faded are all painted things here, of melancholy hue, houses piled of timber under relentless fog. Look at that old beggar, foul-smelling, bent, but his face etched with mindful plans, the wrinkles sagging. Such a wanderer knows the worth of rumours. Then Phaethar answered, "Rumour? Of what rumour speak you? Why have the Shield's men brought us here without full disclosure? They bid me, saying only, 'Boy, be ready when we need an extra spear.' And yet, was it not I that laid out the moneys?" So spoke the youth, somewhat hotly, and the old beggar, sitting, overheard. He looked askance at them and laughed. "Of what rumour? I tell thee, boy, of a road to an infamous place. Need I say more?" Norgonce and Urias also disembarked and stood nigh the plank, grappling packs and leading 2 mules, and they heard likewise. The beggar came by Phaethar and Kadjet, and he stood by the pier pilings, speaking knowingly. "Good masters, why come ye armed with axe and harness? No bristling war is here, nor any giant or hulking troll to hunt." He glanced about, lowered his voice, and whispered, "Seek ye those vaults of evil, and the dark chambers rumoured in yonder tower. The world boasts many towers, no, but ye seek that tower of a famous tale, which mothers now dare no longer tell. The tower abandoned upon a merciless crag, not 1/4 league hence. How on many a shady dark night 'tis seen aglow with eerie lights, and of a sorcerer there was, a century past, that vanished in that flaming colossus, wrapped in unnatural green fire." At this the companions took good note of the man, a fellow whom most would lightly esteem. Kadjet would have driven him off. "We are busied with heroic gear. Take this copper and be gone." But Norgonce said, "Peace, Kadjet. We are but strangers here. Let us hear him." So they drew near like men, friendly for tidings from overseas. And Norgonce, fearing how they were so readily discovered, spoke. "How came you to know our mind?" "Why then," said the beggar, "a few coins for me, trouble. No master's sight is needed. Your look bewrays you. No sailors, yeah, but soldiers without a war, turned adventurers for a risky take." Phaethar looked to Norgonce, who nodded. Then the youth gave a silver. "Many thanks, my lord, and mayhap another 2 silverings will loosen my tongue the more." Norgonce gestured. Phaethar paid. "Good. Be wary of the townsfolk, lest they suspect ye of anything. Note there the inn with the blue trimmings, the growling dog. Bed's good, mutton soup tasty. All my lord will pay for these comforts is 4 silverings. Bear not your arms within, for troublesome men carrying heroic gear oft would taste their last meat there, and so such men are now forbidden. The ale costs dear, but is a happy brew. The old maid that serves is not so nasty if you speak little and smile often. When night falls and the wind takes the lamps, then make you ready, and not before. When the eye of the wane, Arcturus, climbs the upper vault, and Saturn sails close by, then, and only then, depart upon your quest. Thus no man shall see you, nor any know." So spake the beggar. Yet, like a mule that champeth the bit, he had more in him. Norgonce perceived it and said, "Tell us, old man, what gate is best? By what paths shall we achieve the Tower of Xenops unnoticed? And what perils lie before us?" The beggar in sharp whisper, "Name not that wizard so loud, if you would fare here in town unmolested." He looked about as one fearful. "Aye, I can tell more, yet 'tis perilous talking, and I might forfeit my tongue if the civil judge take wind. Scarce could ye pay the price for that forbidden word." Norgonce answered, as was looked for, "Name thy sum, if thou art bold." 3 obols on 2 pieces of gold, and then ye shall hear all of what I know too well. Phaethar enhanced him coins from the purse, glancing about, and right away the beggar led them aside to a marine shed, away from all the bustling docksmen. There they sat on stools and barrels, and with a sparkle in his eye, he drew from his ragged cloak a bottle of bright liquor, the rum of Carnox. He took a lewd and long swig from, and began. "Keep ye the north shore under shadow. Go up to Crane's Hill, where stand 2 rickety windmills. Choose the mill with the broken sail, not the other. Ye shall see the back door shut. Take this key, unlock and leave it in the hole, for there I sometimes rest me bones. Beneath the grinder is a little door of iron, leading to a tunnel under the hill, the smuggler's way of old, wrought before the tower was feared. It runs beneath the wall, and out into the thorny wood, and bringeth you to the path ye seek. Shun Bale Street by the butcher, and shun all gates with sentries. My lord the Baron keeps eyes there, and ye shall be seen. Mark how quickly did even I, a doddering wretch, mark you. Leave spear and sword aboard your ship. Bear only daggers to the pleasant inn. Look you well about. Few dwell here long in town, and those from without depart ere nightfall. Therefore bide till dark, else ye be espied. We of Cargywall are no lovers of foreign kind, nor given to the hospitality of other nations. Stay within the Growling Dog, till the sun drown 'neath the waves, for many varieties of sailors take up in there, as it serveth by sea law, not Thane law, and so hath indulgence to pour for strangers. The townsfolk like not newcomers, and nourish a secret dread of the night. They desire no more disturbance, no more spectres, no more stolen babes. The rule is this: guard your tongues and make no trouble, and go not near the abandoned tower. In this last ye will be breaking the rule. Mind you, be not fools coming back to wash in my sight when your work is bloody. Such ends ill. There, mine is said, and nothing more be left unsaid." They left the shed and went toward the ship to rejoin their brothers. But the beggar peered and said, "Wise now, my friends, and don't be turning to look now. 2 marine sentinels stroll by your dock. I say don't look. Be covered with your cloaks and give them no heed. If they speak, feign ignorance of tongue. Hasten straight to the inn, talk to none, and grant your servant another silvering to divert them from you." They gave him 3, and he wambled off toward the sentinels. Then they stood together and questioned whether they had spent their coin wisely on so shifty a guide, debating in whispers, for many sailors labored at the wharves. But he began to pester the guards and dance for them, which they liked not, and so departed. "Place we such high trust in a vagabond," said Peri Lothran. "Gets he coin of every band of adventurers and drunken men? Surely many that followed his counsel perished anyway. Or if his word be true help, then the success of many previous raiders leaves no treasure for us. Let us go at once and find the path by day, making bold entry, ere any can hinder us." But Norgonce answered, "Rather heed now the old man's counsel. We are not in our own land, nor are we from contempt. If he has deceived us, justice will not forget him." So they returned to the wharf and told the blade tongue. Many questions were moved, and much devising put forth. But Norgonce's plan had the mastery in council.